Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Chris Raposo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader with Chris Raposo. Today, my guest is James Steen, Ph.D. He is the VP of Enrollment Management and Marketing at Houston Christian University. And today's topic is from best practice to next practice, how Houston Christian University tripled freshman enrollment. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Chris. Big fan.
Glad to have you. Really enjoy you and see you on my LinkedIn feed all the time. But I have to start with this. Houston Christian University has tripled its freshman enrollment while so many schools are fighting to just stay even. What's been the biggest driver of that momentum? I know that with God, all things are possible.
That's
but
right.
Let me know how things work out in your team and how you make that happen.
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna give God the credit for bringing us a very generous donor who was on our engineering advisory board, and basically sold his business, came to the president, and was asking how he could help us grow engineering. That's how the conversation started, and. So he approached the president and said, I want to help you double engineering at HCU. What would it take to do that? And the president and I kind of just had a conversation, and I got to the point where I'm like, well, if he wants to gross up to everybody to full tuition, that would certainly help, thinking, well, that'll never happen. And the donor came back and he said, okay, I want to gross everybody up to full tuition. But to do that, I want you to double engineering. And we said, okay, let's see what we can do with that. So year one, which would have been fall 24, we were able to double our intake for engineering, which was basically going from like 90 something to 200 something. And he was so excited. He said, okay, I want you to double it again, and then if you double it again, to double it. So we're now on our we call it the triple double. We're on our third doubling, and so last year we brought in, instead of 200-ish, we brought in 375 new engineering students, and the goal for fall 26 is 750.
Whoa!
Which is crazy. So from 24 to 25. So last fall we had our record freshman class, 954. The previous record was 770. So we jumped last year, and we're trying to do that. We're trying to go from 950 to 1250 freshmen this fall. And the crazy thing is, as you know, for a big, hairy, audacious goal, going from 950 to 1250, going into it, you want to hedge a little bit and say, okay, that was great last year. We were up significantly, about 33% last year. We're trying to be up another 30% this year. You kind of want to hedge just a little bit, and thankfully, thus far we're sitting for fall 26. My applications are up, significantly. We're running over 50% year over year on applications. My admits right now are up over 60%. Deposits are trending well. So, what was kind of this big, hairy, crazy, audacious goal, it feels like we're going to be able to do that. And thankfully, even last year, it wasn't just engineering that was up. Obviously, engineering was up the most, but pretty much every school in college was up year over year. And so it's created some good problems. We like those kind of problems, but yeah, I'll kind of stop there and let you jump back in. But that's really kind of been the impetus the last couple of years. There's been a name change. There's been a lot of other things that have happened over the last 3 years in addition to that. But I really want to give credit to the Lord for bringing us this donor.
Yeah.
Right? This was literally something that wasn't necessarily planned, but the more we talked about it, it has really been a huge blessing for the institution.
It sure has. So just to clarify, the donor gave you the money and said they pay full tuition for those students that are coming in.
So basically, his is the last dollar in.
Uh-huh.
So after their merit award, any need-based aid, federal, state, anything, whatever the gap is, he covers the gap up to full tuition. And some students that are even full Pell eligible students, which is the majority of our incoming freshmen here at Houston Christian are Pell eligible. We're usually almost 2/3, anywhere from 60 to 63% are Pell eligible. So for a lot of those students that not only get a good scholarship, because it's you have to have a 3.25 GPA or better to qualify. We call it the Grace Hopper Scholarship. To qualify for that scholarship, you're already getting a decent merit award, and so the donors really grossing up to full tuition the cost of the university, and he guarantees it for 4 years, 8 undergraduate
Amazing.
semesters. So
Amazing. That takes a lot of pressure off the students, and it also helps to expedite the process, right? So they're not going to linger around. They're going to get it done within 4 years
yes,
and be out of there. And the other cool thing is that donor specifically said he wants to put it towards the tuition, towards the enrollment, because sometimes you get those donation dollars and they go towards building and renovations and whatnot.
that's right.
The
That's
money's
right.
gone, right? But
That's
that
right.
was specifically stated. That's what I wanted for that helped you. But then again, I've seen these videos before, like people giving away stuff on the street, like man on the street, like, hey, I got $20 for you for free. You want it? And people are like, what's the catch? What's the
Yeah.
catch here, right?
Yeah.
So that's where marketing comes into play to just communicate that well, especially at the beginning when the word doesn't go out. Now, obviously now the word's out. People trust it. You
That's
get
right.
more enrollment like you see. But let's talk about that a little bit, because you gave a presentation on that as well, which is called next best practice to next practice,
Yeah.
and how you change your marketing there a little bit. You know, what's that look like for you in real life?
Yeah. So for us, obviously, some of that goes back to about 3 years ago. We were Houston Baptist University. We changed the name to Houston Christian University, and for the last several years, we've had obviously a very aggressive, marketing campaign, brand awareness. We did, walk away from some brand equity in our hbu.edu URL, and then we couldn't get HCU, so we're hc.edu. The name change was another fascinating process to go through. But we finally, if you think about that flywheel analogy, it's a slow, laborious, work. But I think we finally have the flywheel moving with enough momentum that I've even had to tell the CFO and the president, I'm like, are we okay here? Do we need to pump the brakes a little bit? Just because we've got so much momentum. We just earlier this week we had we had a retreat called the Triple Double Retreat, just to make sure how many more faculty are we going to need to hire? How many more classrooms are we going to need? What does that look like from a parketing? I mean, all the logistics around. Okay, if we bring in another 300 plus freshmen this fall, above and beyond last year's record class, what does that look like logistically? So we're having those conversations, but obviously we're doing more digital marketing than we've ever done before. And that, I think one of the main points about best practice to next practice is really becoming an enrollment innovator. And I think we've got to start thinking outside the box. We can't just keep doing the same old thing that we've always done and expect to get better results. And so I think that's something I've been challenging at the last couple of conferences I've presented at is, we as enrollment managers, and even enrollment marketers, right? We've got to start thinking about how to do things differently, how to do things better. And from an innovation standpoint, we've jumped into direct admission on a large scale. And so we started with niche, and now we're doing Common App direct admit. We've got, a new program called Guaranteed Admission Program where we're partnering with school districts with an MOU and a data sharing agreement to basically they share their data with us at the beginning of the fall. And so we have the ability because they send us basically every senior with a 3.0 GPA or better, and we're able to say, hey, congratulations, Chris. Not only are you admissible based on your GPA, but you're also going to qualify for our President Scholarship at $20,000 a year, and boom, here's an offer. If you're interested, just fill out this onboarding form, and the onboarding form is basically the application, right? It's just a streamlined application. So we've kind of flipped the script on that, and I think that's kind of it's fun, it's exciting. It's like, okay, how do we do some things differently that benefit students, that benefit the institution, and ultimately help us keep moving the ball forward? So I think that's been a fun process, is some of these new direct admit strategies. So anyway, I mean, there's a whole lot going on. I think that's feeding that flywheel analogy.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning into the episode today. I hope you're enjoying it so far. This episode is brought to you by StayMates, a full-service marketing agency servicing colleges and universities throughout the country. For more than 40 years, StayMates has helped higher ed institutions strengthen their brands, launch digital campaigns, and drive measurable enrollment growth. From audience research and content strategy to digital design and accessibility, StayMates brings deep expertise and a practical, results-driven approach to every engagement. Looking for a partner who really gets higher education? Learn more at staymates.com. Again, this is staymates.com for more information. And now, back to the episode. That's right. And you remove that friction. I love that you, in the acceptance letter, that you put in the scholarships that are available for the particular student, because that is one of the things, right? Like, some people don't know what they don't know, that there's a scholarship available, and there's so many scholarships sitting around that are not going to be utilized. So putting it out there is just another service offering that differentiates you as an institution.
Absolutely.
And then especially removing those barriers for students coming in, like you said, the direct admissions to guaranteed admissions, and what made you decide to take those risks, and what's been the impact there?
We, with the name change and with everything we were doing, we launched a new institutional strategic plan, and one of the initiatives from that was we worked on a strategic enrollment plan. And a part of the strategic enrollment plan, we had a mission to grow enrollment. What we didn't anticipate was that growing enrollment was going to be so significantly weighted towards on-ground, in-person, what we call H-campus students. We really thought most of the growth was going to be online, and that we were going to go from 3,000 to 4,000 on-ground in person, and maybe from 2,000 to 5,000 or 2,000 to 6,000 online students. Well, online is growing, but ironically, it's the on-ground in person that's had a little bit more momentum these last couple of years, primarily because of these full tuition engineering scholarships. Right. And so the other interesting thing that we talked about during this triple-double retreat is that we have mechanical engineering, and this isn't public yet, but we're doing a feasibility study. We may launch mechanical engineering in fall 27. Well, that's another potential group of 250 to 300 additional mechanical engineering freshmen that may then add on another, not double, because at some point we're running up against a paradigm that's like, okay, we're not going to be able to handle that. But again, I think there's a lot of momentum that mechanical engineering wasn't 5 years ago was kind of a much longer, way out there goal to get to. Someday we'll launch mechanical. Well, now we're to a place where it's like we're ready for mechanical, and we've got the volume and the amount of students and the faculty to support that.
Right.
So that's going to happen even sooner than later. So I think these good problems create more opportunities for us to not only be innovative, but to really get out of the box and say, okay, we don't have to wait to do that, or we're not just talking theoretically about this. Now we're actually going to be able to do it. We even have you think about housing constraints. We're fairly constrained
Yeah.
from a housing perspective. And, one of our, literally the hospital that's contiguous to campus that we share this land with, they have a retirement center,
Mm.
5-story retirement center, and it was basically, it wasn't a capacity. They weren't making money on it, and the university, there was basically it was going to revert back to the university in 50 years anyway.
Yeah.
So 10 years early, we started conversations with them, and it's kind of a win-win. We're gonna get the facility back, basically buy the facility back, and we need the housing. So I mean, like, just all of these things that have just kind of fallen into place. So we'll have 160 new beds available next fall for this third double, if you will, and then we're going to renovate 2 of the floors. And so we're it's gonna be a whole nother big project. We've got a new science building that's under construction that will open in the fall. So the engineering and science building. So again, all of these things, I mean, literally, Lord's perfect timing are just kind of falling
Yeah.
into place at the right time. And so we're just very encouraged to be where we are, in this triple
That's
double situation.
that's awesome. I love hearing that, especially that retirement billing became available earlier than it needed to, or than it was
Mhm.
scheduled to. So,
Exactly.
because I was going to ask if these on-ground students were maybe commuter students, or if they came in from different
That's a
states
good
where you had to
question.
have the housing.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're kind of unique in the sense that because most of our students are from Houston, I'm at least anyway, 81, 82, 83% of my students are right here in our backyard. And then,
Hmm.
again, that's the other blessing, Chris, that is not, it's a little unique to us. We've got 7.8 million people right here in our backyard. So
Hmm.
that's when you're trying to grow.
Yeah.
We have a large pond, if you will, to fish out of. So that helps, but it also gives students who may not have the extra, 10 to 12K for room and board a year. It gives them the option to live at home,
Right.
and they can commute. So we're about 60/40, 60% commuter, 40% residential. And it's also why I've been a little hesitant to get too aggressive outside of Houston Metro in terms of advertising these we call them Hopper scholarships, engineering, full tuition engineering scholarships. But because of this new facility, we're gonna go big, and DFW and other metros in Texas, and start advertising pretty aggressively that
Yeah.
we've got this scholarship available, and if you want to come do engineering at HCU, we're ready for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So you mentioned that you had the name change from Houston Baptist University to Houston Christian University, and sometimes when it comes to faith-based schools, they worry about growing too fast, which
Yeah.
means losing who they are. But HCU, the story feels like the opposite. Your diversity has grown right alongside
Yeah.
your mission. So how'd you pull that off?
Yeah, we've always been, ever since I've been here. I came in '06, so I'm in my 20th year as of 2026. We've always been majority minority. We're about 41, 42% Hispanic. I'm about 27, 28% Black, and I'm really only like 17% white. And then every other configuration as well. But we are really, in a lot of ways, a reflection of Houston. Houston's a really diverse city. So as
Yeah.
we've grown, that's very much reflected in our student body. And I think now that we've got a lot more engineering majors, the really interesting thing is my male to female ratio.
Mm.
I mean, I'm for all these Hopper scholars or engineering majors that we're bringing in, about 75% of them are male. And so we've gone from 35% male, 65% female. I mean, we're not quite going to be 50-50 this fall, but I mean, like, most of our growth, the majority of our growth has been in male students. So even that dynamic
Yeah.
has been interesting. We for a while before we got this new facility that we're going to have come online this fall. I mean, we were talking about flipping one of the larger female residence halls over to males and putting the. I mean, we were coming up with all kinds of different scenarios because we didn't have enough male beds on
Yeah.
campus.
Wow.
And I think the other thing is, when we went from Houston Baptist to Houston Christian, really about 20% of my students identify or are Baptist. But with our Hispanic population, Catholic is
Right.
by number two and probably will surpass Baptist sooner than later. Non-denominational is probably going to catch that 20%. It's students these days are not identifying denominationally the way maybe my generation or certainly our parents' generation did,
Yeah.
and so that non-denominational category is just blowing up.
It is.
So there's a whole lot, like when you look at the demographics every year, there's a whole lot of things that keep moving, and especially with all this growth, have been interesting to watch.
It's crazy. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Houston, well-known community in the Christian space. You know, your buddy Joel Osteen over there in the old basketball arena, and
That's right. That's right.
and yeah, it's great.
And there's quite a few large
I
mega
know,
churches
I
right here in
know,
the
I
Houston
know.
metro area.
There's a
So
lot of them. Gateway Church, I think, and it's crazy. It's huge.
mhm.
It's definitely your audience is right there. That's why you're growing as well. Sometimes faith-based institution in the Northeast, they may be dwindling, enrollment
Sure,
may go down, but where you are,
sure.
it's like part of the Bible Belt, so it
Yeah.
does help a lot, I think. But
Yeah, and I really do. When we survey students, we'll usually have about 25% say, I came to HCU because it was a Christian university. And then there's usually about 25% that say that had nothing to do with why I came to HCU. And then there's everybody in the middle who are like, well, I came for a lot of different reasons, but
mhm,
I'm glad Houston Christian is a Christian. So you have
yeah,
all these even different priorities within the students that we're enrolling as well.
that makes sense. It's good that you pointed it out because when I hear Christian university, I think everybody's just Christian that goes there, but that's not
That's
always the
right.
case.
And that's not always the case.
Not always the
Absolutely.
case. It's not always the case. It's not like I have a connection up at Yeshiva University out of New York City, and it's a Jewish
That's right. That's right.
university. I just spoke with the guy yesterday, and he's like, it's not all Jewish. It's
That's right. That's right.
diversified. But yeah, talk
Right.
about that a little bit about the brand promise there, because you talked about that a little bit in your presentation as well. Delivering on the brand promise in your world, what does that actually mean, and how do you make sure that the message students see in the marketing lines up with the experience once they arrive? Because you said there's a lot of more people in there, and there may be classes may fill up too much, and they may not have space. How does that work for you?
Yeah, I think one of the best things that we do is every new incoming freshman is going to take the first year seminar. We call it freshman year seminar. And so that course is definitely one that kind of locks in with students. Yes, it's kind of a transitions course. We want to help you, transition from high school to college and do that successfully. So there's some study skills, and there's how to there's some financial components and how to manage your finances in college. But there's also a lot of, we call it the whole Husky, right? So there's all these different dimensions that feed into the culture. Obviously, the spiritual is one of them, but
Hmm.
but that, I think, helps students when they come in um, get into the HCU culture much quicker, much better, without kind of, it's not disruptive. It really is kind of this warm, welcoming. We want you to succeed, and this is how you're going to be successful at HCU, and this is what you need to know about who we are and the institution that you're coming into. Funny story: when we were bringing in last year's class, for the longest time, I'd said we're probably gonna land around 900, and I kept telling the faculty that, the provost that, and one of my good friends who's over FYS, she kept coming to me and she was like, "Look, if we blow past 900, you're gonna have to teach FYS." I'm like, "We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. Don't worry. You're gonna have enough FYS instructors." So basically, by the time we got to August and we were like pushing 950-ish, she was like, "You're teaching FYS this fall." I'm like, "Yes, I know I'm teaching FYS this fall." So I just finished FYS and turned my grades in on Monday. But yes, I had to go back to teaching FYS, which
There
I
you
hadn't
go.
done since the name change. I've been more focused on that. But anyway, that's probably one of the main ways that we make sure
Yeah.
that not only are we delivering on the promise, but we're making sure everybody that comes in knows who we are
Right.
and what HCU stands for.
That's right. And when you do the outreach, you got to personalization is the key there as well. And
That's right. That's right.
when we talked previously, you use AI to
That's right.
personalize outreach at scale, but
That's right.
you want to make sure that it still has the human touch when you do
Absolutely.
that. So how do you do that?
Yeah, so you can't rely on AI to do that, right? I mean, at
Right.
some point, I think AI is great, or the all the personalization, and we get help from vendors to do that, obviously, who are building more of that into Conflows and even personalized web experiences. I mean, but at some point, from the admit stage down funnel, you do. It's all about relationships, and our admissions counselors are doing a fabulous job. In fact, whenever students submit a FAFSA, my admissions counselors are the ones that actually we call them financial aid appointments. It's really just a cost conversation appointment to say, okay,
Mhm.
this is everything you're going to qualify for, and this is the total cost. This is the scholarships and the merit, the need base. So this is the gap. So let's talk about what we're going to do about that. So we have those conversations with students. We do it by territory. So those students know their admissions counselor, and ultimately that's where we get that personal one-on-one.
Yeah.
We're a small private Christian institution, right? We can't just send them a financial aid award letter, or we can't just send them an
Yeah.
acceptance letter and not have those personal relationships with them.
Right, and that again removes barrier and it removes the fear of if you just get a statement, you see the amount, you're like, holy cow, how's that going to
Yeah,
work for me, right? And if you have somebody walk you
exactly,
through it,
exactly.
it'll
And
help.
even those relationships and those students, like those students still come by. We call it Husky Central. That's where all the admissions counselors are. They still come by Husky Central to visit their admissions counselor sometime years into their experience, because they develop those relationships. It also helps me say, okay, who are the good ones that need to be our student ambassadors giving
Hmm.
tours, or our go leaders, which is our orientation, our orientation leaders. I need to know all those good students that can help
Yes,
me in the future.
that's right. That social proof that helps a lot. If you have those stars that love the institution and can talk about it positively,
Absolutely.
it makes a
Absolutely.
difference.
Yeah.
Talk about your team though. I mean, you're gonna get stretched with all those applications, right? And trying new things as part of the game, like you had having to teach a class again after a couple of years. So
Yes. Yes.
how do you
Yes.
build a culture where your
Yes.
team feels safe experimenting a little bit and
Yeah.
even if the
So
ideas don't hit? So
yes, absolutely. Well, and I think that's what is great about my team. So obviously we kind of have the admissions counselors up front. Uh, Tiffany, our director of undergraduate admissions, she does a phenomenal job. She's an uber extrovert, and her team of counselors. Honestly, we haven't turned over a counselor position in several years.
wow.
So she does a phenomenal job managing that team. Now we've added to it. We've added another admissions counselor, for last year. We're going to have to add another one for next year. We know that. But then we've got the back office team, and Beth is our slate captain and guru and director of admissions operations. She does a phenomenal job with her team. And I think, and we're going to have to grow that team, right? We already have added another graduate assistant because we've got thousands of documents with record numbers of applications. I almost have as many applications by next week. By the week of Christmas, I should have as many applications before the end of the calendar year that I had in the entire year last year. And so
Wow.
those are great problems to have, but now I've got to figure out how to manage that. So we've got to, anyway. So we're managing it. Things are working out okay. But in that process, I think I have realized I'm always I'm always thinking big crazy ideas. What if we try this and what if we try that? I've learned that I need to run it by the team and get a pulse check, or Kristen, who is, she's kind of our admin office manager. She's our fix it person. She helps me manage the budget. I'm always going to them and saying, okay, what if we try this crazy idea, or what if we experiment with this? And I can always tell, and I've trained him to be honest with me and say, that's a terrible idea. We can't do that, right? And so 9 times out of 10, it's just me thinking up crazy things. But then every now and then they're like, no, we think we could do that, or we've got the capacity, because it becomes a capacity issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if we start what if we start some new XYZ campaign to this group to see if we can move the needle with them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I've got to pull somebody from marketing to help
Right.
write all. I mean, so it just becomes, they'll let me know when they can do something or when it's not feasible. But I think that's part of the process, right?
Right.
You've got to talk about big, crazy, wild ideas,
Yeah.
most of which will never come to fruition. But if you're not doing that, right? If you're not having those conversations, you're not going to be doing anything different, and therefore
Right.
you're just going to kind of
Yes.
be status quo. And so I think that's where I love. I love that kind of push and dialogue. If I come up with one more vendor that I'm like, hey, do you think maybe we should work with this vendor? And then Christian's moving money around to figure out how we can do that. But sometimes she'll say we can't afford to do that, and she'll
Right.
just shut me down. I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
so again, we've got a great relationship, and we've figured out kind of how to move the needle without becoming burdensome or being
Yeah.
something that's unsustainable.
That's right. You want to find that balance of how to stretch my team for the next level, but don't burn them out in the process.
Exactly.
So if you got a marketing or enrollment leader listening in, what
Mhm.
should they do to move from best practice to next practice in 2026?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think all of the above should be on the table, right? Are you maximizing the top of your funnel, right? Is
Hmm.
is there is there is there anything that you're not doing that you should be doing to get more into the top of the funnel? I'm a big funnel guy. I can't believe I just said funnel for the first time in a 30-minute conversation, but you gotta build the top of the funnel, and then are you doing everything in the middle of the funnel to remove the barriers to make sure you're getting everybody through the funnel? You know, I mean, just for example, we are literally, I'm having a conversation with the CFO yesterday about postage. We're going to be, we're going to
Mm,
be 5,000 over on postage. I'm going to be 10,000 short on print. I mean, like everything is costing more.
yeah.
Well, one of those are Common App fees. I do not charge a fee on my Common App, and the CFO is like, well, maybe we need to start charging students to submit the Common App. And I'm like, again, I won't get on my app fee soapbox, but I'm like, we can't do that, right? So
Right.
are you doing everything to optimize in the middle of the funnel, and then make sure when things do cost more,
Yeah.
when there is a vendor you should be using that you're not, are you doing everything that you should be doing to make sure you're getting funding to do that and getting the support to do that, right? But middle of the funnel, are you removing barriers? You're getting people down the funnel, and ultimately at the bottom of the funnel, we've got to be more relational. We've got to make sure those students are getting engaged, that they're hearing from us on a regular basis, that we're communicating well, that they know who we are, so that ultimately if they haven't visited, if they haven't paid a deposit, if they haven't joined the ZME community or whatever it is, right? We need them to get engaged and ultimately figure out if this is the place for them or not. So yeah, for me, it all kind of comes back to the funnel. What are you doing at the top and the middle and the bottom of the funnel to move the needle and not only maintain, but certainly try to grow and blow up as much as you can, or afford to anyway, what we're already doing.
Yeah, it's very important, like you said, remove the barriers, remove the friction, and the Common App fee would be one of those things that would be a barrier
Yep.
for sure. So,
Yeah.
how can people get in touch with you, and also tell us a little bit more about Houston Christian University?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm always happy to connect over LinkedIn. You can email me, you can ping me, however you want to do that. I'm always happy to talk shop, as Chris.
Hmm.
But HCU is we're in a great place. Blessed to be growing and having the kind of challenges that we're having, which are a little counter, I think, to what some others are dealing with. But every time we're faced with a situation of, well, do you want us to let off the gas or keep the pedal to the metal? I keep getting
Right.
foot on the gas, so we're just going and blowing and moving as fast as we can. So it's a fun time to be in enrollment management at Houston Christian University.
Amazing. Well, James, I really appreciate your time, sharing your story, sharing your insights. Wish you all the best and your team as well as you continue to grow. And I'll be watching from afar and wishing you all the best.
Thanks so much, Chris. Great to visit.
Great to visit. Take care, my friend.
All right, you as well.
And that's a wrap for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Education Marketing Leader Podcast this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and your network. And if you ever thought about starting your own podcast, now that you listen to one and you got inspired, reach out to me via DM. We'd love to help you launch your own. We'll take care of everything for you, the scripting, the strategy, the editing, the distribution. All you have to do is show up, connect with your audience, and build your personal brand. So if you're ready for it, let's chat. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time at the Education Marketing Leader Podcast. Take care, friends.